Today's episode of Running It Back is locked and loaded. Just hit play. Well, you probably already did that. What is going on with me? Well, stand-up is going on. It's coming back slowly, but it's coming back. Next month, I will be performing as I record this. Details to come, so keep an eye out. You can see me do stand-up, and following that, out-of-town dates that I'm putting together. So 2 chances to see old buddy Patrick Ramirez pontificate on a stage. Should be good. That will be good. Today on the show, Christina Marie Leonard joins me. I know Christina from stand-up comedy. However, as you will find out, she is so much more. She has 2 movies out right now that she wrote, she produced, she acted in them. So we dive into that. One is out right now, one is coming out. So you have something to look forward to. Not only that, we do a deep dive, we do a deep interview. I ask her questions about her fascination with metal music, to my surprise, growing up in Nebraska, where she's from, but also a very, very close look at her interest in Star Wars. That's right, it's influenced us all. So Christina talks about her faves, her hopes for the franchise, their hits, their misses. It's all there. Not to mention Rotten Tomatoes head-to-head game at the end of it, quite possibly the hardest game ever on the show. See how she does. Hey, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the YouTube page by now, do it. You will get to see and listen to all the past interviews, see which one is your favorite, play along with the Rotten Tomatoes game too. See how you do. Talking all big. So, hey Christina. Anakin, you were the chosen one! Running it back right now. All right, I am back on the show. Joining me on the screen this week on Running It Back, the talented, the funny, the versatile Christina Marie Leonard. I haven't seen you in a million years, Christina. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Patrick?
Excellent. Really good. The seasons are turning here, so it feels like we are a day and a half away from a million degrees.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I think we're being teased by gray clouds in the morning, and then it gets warm.
I like the gray clouds. I like the overcast. That's my favorite part of the day.
Me too. I like it. People don't know this, but I think the best time in Southern California is that early summer or that early fall when we have gray clouds till about 11 a.m. The sun comes out and then it gets cool again at about 6 p.m. It's the perfect window.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you from stand-up, but in doing my research, I find out that you're pretty versatile. Stand-up, writer, producer, jewelry maker. Am I leaving anything out? Do you also fly commercial airlines or anything like that? I don't know about.
I don't, but actor is actually my predominant
actor
cause.
As well. You're right. How would you describe yourself in the creative world when people ask you what you do? It seems like you do a lot.
I describe myself as an actor creator. Because I feel like writing is creating, producing is creating, stand-up is creating, and sometimes I'm doing one of those things more than others. Like right now, I'm not doing so much stand-up because I've found that I really find, acting to be more important. And like you said, I'm doing 12 different things, and it's like kind of need to focus. But yeah, actor and creator is kind of my jam.
Yeah, that sounds good. And if you do add commercial airline pilot to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
just creating fun for people. I guess fun. Planes are fun. Planes aren't fun. I don't like planes. You know what? I'm creating hell. That's what I'm doing. I'm creating a hell for many people.
What about an Amtrak train conductor? How about that? Keep it to the ground.
Dude, I have had some hellish experiences on an Amtrak as well. I fucking hate traveling. I'll be honest with you. I hate it. I was stranded with my parents at an Amtrak in Colorado for like 12 hours once.
Really?
So, yeah, I don't know what happened. I made friends. I was a kid.
Stranded with your parents sounds like the premise to almost every 80s kind of kids movie.
Yeah, or like a
where
Chevy Chase film, like the
yes,
National
yeah,
Lampoon.
every kid's movie is involved with either running away from your parents or doing something sort of sneaky without your parents knowing. Very parent centric is
Yeah.
the basis of any kid's movie. As a kid, I always wanted to, I wasn't like a troublemaker. I wasn't like a wise ass. I just wanted to sneak stuff. I wanted to find a way to sneak candy into school. I wanted to find a way to sneak a television into church. I just wanted to pull off these little mini heists as a kid. And that was about it. That was the height of my mischievous.
Heists are fun. I mean, I could add heists to the list. I was always trying to, you know how in all those movies, I think this was more early 2000s, but maybe also 90s when they were like sneaking through air vents. That was like
Ooh.
you've seen that in movies. So I
Oh,
wanted
yes.
to do that. So I convinced a bunch of kids from youth group to like break into the vents underneath the church balcony. And we did it, and no one else had fun. Like everyone else was like, my hips won't fit through. And I was just like, get in there, Jessica.
We love an adventure.
Yeah. Everyone else just wanted to read the Bible. I was like, God, if we have to be here, at least let's Nancy Drew this shit, you know?
Yeah, there you go. See,
Yeah.
from an early age, you're already creating things to do as a kid.
I tried to. I was always trying to find trapdoors. My parents have this farmhouse in Nebraska. That's not where we live, but it's a long story. Anyway, I wanted there to be a trapdoor so badly that I like dug through the floor and tried to pull off this paneling. And my dad was so pissed. I also tried to burrow through the attic in my house but it turns out the farm actually did have a trap door that led to the cellar. And I discovered it. And my parents did not believe in me. They're like, stop trying to pry up the floor. And I was like, no, but this one is actually, look, under the linoleum. And they were like, oh my God. Wow, they're actually, okay, all right, you're wrong.
Whoa, you really discovered the trap door.
I did. I discovered a real trap door.
You might belong in the Kid Hall of Fame for that one.
Thank you. That's one of my dreams.
Finding a trap door, definitely up there for kids ages 8 to probably 13 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's well, like a young adult reader group. Perfect.
Oh, right. Adventure, pure adventure. I want to ask you about where you're from and stuff, but I want to ask you about your movie first. You made a full-on movie. Number one, not only did you make this movie, you wrote it, you produced it, you did it in the 2020 era. I don't know how you did that. It's called The X. Tell me where you got the idea for this movie.
Well, so The X is actually a 4-minute short film. I shot that in 2019, but it started getting accepted into festivals in 2020 and 2021. The film that I shot over the pandemic was called Waiting for the Punchline. We shot that last month. But it may have gotten muddled a little bit because I was sort of promoting The X, which was finished at the same time that I was crowdfunding for Waiting for the Punchline, which was in pre-production.
Oh, I see. So you have two projects going, one being made, one was being moved around. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Whoa. More research done during the interview, and it turns out you're doing more stuff. You might have a whole movie done by the time this interview is over, for all I know.
Well, I mean, it's possible. The editor is working on Waiting for the Punch. Actually, we need to get notes, and then she'll get it again. So, I mean, I think everything is in stasis, like right now. But like by the time that people watch this interview, yes, the movie might be done. I don't know. We'll see.
Plates are spinning.
Yeah,
plates are spinning. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, you wrote and produced The X.
Yes, both of them, and I starred in them both as well. And they're both dark comedies, kind of about like relationships, but also like kind of horror-y. Both of them, you know, they're not your typical rom-com. They're like your slightly cringe-worthy, you know, a little bit. Somebody might need some help, kind of.
Yeah, I was reading your pitch and your synopsis about The X, and it's very dark. It's It is, yeah, it is pretty fun. And then, but you're like the cover, one movie cover I saw of it or some artwork is like a cartoon. So it looks like a fun romp, but it's
Yes,
pretty.
that's the one that Josh Sood drew. If you know Josh Sood, he makes great posters for a lot of comedians. But like, if you notice it, it's a blow up doll in a grave that I'm digging up. That's the cartoon that he drew, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty funny / scary / curious. It's a lot of things at once. Tell me the premise to the X.
And there's comedians that you know in both of those films too. So thank you for reading the synopsis. That's super cool of you. The X is about a girl, my character Zelda, and it's Halloween night, and her boyfriend has passed away the previous year, and her best friend is trying to get her to move on and, you know, maybe date again, just at least celebrate Halloween. But Zelda will have none of that, and she has come out in a couple's costume with her blow up doll with her ex-boyfriend's face on it, like a headshot taped to the blow up doll. And she's just not giving up. She is in total denial. And then finally, all of her friends have a pep talk with her, like throughout the course of Halloween night. And she breaks down and she says, okay, fine. I realize that, you know, this is crazy. I'm going to change. And then we have a twist ending in which, let's just say, she does not change at all. She gets worse.
So this character has, would you say it's safe to say, a little bit of a different kind of arc by the end of this?
Yeah, she's in a bit of a codependent relationship with someone who's no longer alive. Yeah.
Well, you said it was dark.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have, it seems like you gravitate to the dark comedies, the little bit deeper cuts. Do you like horror movies in general? Is there some influence there?
Yeah, so this might answer your questions of where I'm from. Nebraska, where I didn't grow up doing horror movies. In my teenage years and college years, I was acting in a lot of horror movies. Those are like my first, I mean, I did theater growing up and everything, but like my first movie roles were all basically horror movies. And I watched a ton of horror movies. It was like a contest of like what we could sit through without, you know, crying or whatever. But you know, I got to the point where now I love horror comedies because I'm so familiar with the horror genre that it's just like the most fun to make fun of. You know, anything you're familiar with. That's why my current film is about a comedy club, is because I worked in a comedy club. I did comedy. So of course, like, it's going to be really funny for me to have a film that's set in a comedy club because it's like, I know all the shit that goes on there and I know how to make fun of it. Similarly to, like, I love the show Superstore. I worked in a grocery store all throughout high school. That shit is hilarious to me because I get it. So there's a whole genre about a whole horror comedy genre as somebody that was in a buttload of horror movies, watched a buttload of horror movies. Like, that is my jam. And also, you know, I mean, I have an awful time dating. Let's just be honest. Like, it's the worst. And I like romantic comedies, but like my life just does not work out like that at all. And you know, I mean, I'm pretty career motivated at this point. Like, I would like a relationship, but I mean, if I had to choose one, like, I'm choosing the career. And so, I mean, but I am a romantic at heart. I really am. And so this genre, it just kind of like checks all the boxes, you know? And I don't even try to write in that genre. It's not like I'm going to write a dark comedy, or I'm going to write a horror comedy, or I'm going to write a dark rom-com. It's just like, I put pen to paper and poof, that's what comes out.
Yeah. I just had an idea for your next dark comedy. You mentioned you like romantic comedies. Here's one, and it's entitled Homeless Romantic.
Yes.
It's just a homeless dude trying to find love. The Homeless Romantic. Yeah. You think about horror movies. I always think how far horror movies have come, because we have scary horror movies. We have bloody slasher horror movies. We have psychological horror movies. And in somewhere like in the 90s, 2000s, horror movies were made that were almost parodies of themselves. They were kind of comedy horror movies like Scream and Scary Movie, where they kind of combined both sort of ideas of it. And now we have them now, and they're still every bit fascinating, good. Even bad horror movies, we almost like just as much. It's really, really crazy how much we sort of gravitate to it.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. And I have been in horror movies that weren't supposed to be horror comedies, but they were. And I will say, Homeless Romantic is such a good title. But of course, I would make it a girl. I would make the lead a woman, because you don't have a lot of films centered on homeless women. And I think that there could be so much there,
That's right.
I mean, but yeah, this is a great title. Do it. Make it, Patrick. Make that shit.
Homeless Romantic. Yeah. Maybe he aspires to be a commercial airline pilot.
It makes me think of, isn't there an episode of 30 Rock where Tina Fey falls for this homeless guy, and then I think she finds out that he's actually not homeless. He's undercover or something.
Oh, really?
This up? Yeah.
It doesn't sound familiar to me, but that sounds like it would be a 30 Rock episode.
Yeah. Okay. I need to find this out. I'm sure you'll get responses when you post this and people will know, but I'll figure it out. We'll use our sources, the internet. Yeah.
That's right. We're going to cast a wide net on this one.
I thought you were going to say we're going to cast a spell, because I'd be down with that too.
What is your favorite horror movie? Or give me a Mount Rushmore of a few of your favorite horror movies.
Well, so this is always a weird answer, because I was so into horror movies when I was in college, when I was 19 specifically. And Let the Right One In was my favorite for sure. And then I've never seen the new version, Let Me In. And I honestly, I was so high when I watched, even though I watched Let the Right One In so many times, I was probably high every time I watched it. And I never realized what was happening in the movie. It was such a well done, beautiful movie. And it was there were gore aspects, but it was so great. But I didn't realize, if you guys have seen it, you'll know what I mean. I didn't realize the arc, because I was high. So now that somebody explained it to me, I like it even more. Also, oh my God, there was one called, oh my God, it was I want to say Snow Dogs, but I feel like that is not. It's Snow Zombies or Dog Soldiers. I think it's called Dog Soldiers, about Nazi zombies. I don't know. And so literally killing Nazi zombies. Everybody likes killing Nazis because they were the worst. But Nazis, you can imagine if you're a stone. But again, I don't think that these would necessarily be my favorite horror movies today, because, God, I need to find out my new favorites. Oh my God, there was this one, and I don't want to ruin any of these movies for anybody, and I can't think of the name of it, and it is, and I would describe it, but then that would give it away. So
yeah, that's true. You really can ruin a horror movie. We normal movies, you could give away some of the plot, and you could still enjoy the movie, but a horror movie, you really need that reveal by the end of it. You really need to not know what's going to happen to make it extra, extra scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will list maybe one more. I think Martyrs is the one where they have the icicles, not icicles. They're in a cave. That's terrifying. Okay. And there was another one called Wreck. There's just I had some really good friends that introduced me to some really good horror movies that are utterly terrifying. But the reason that I like them is because it's not just gore. It's great jump scares, and it also fucks with you psychologically. But I can't really handle them like I used to. That's why I watch horror comedy now. I can't handle them. I just can't. So now horror comedies, everybody loves Cabin in the Woods, right? That's the one.
Right.
And then, but there's another one that's so good that not everyone knows. And it's called, I don't remember, so I will think of it later. And
I don't remember.
It's so good. It's about people making a horror movie, and it's a low budget horror movie, and it reminds me of The Producers. I'm just gonna explain the movie rather than telling you the titles,
because a horror movie of The Producers, that's gold.
Well, it's not The Producers, but it's like, oh my God. You know how in The Producers, they're trying to produce this play and they have no idea what they're doing, and it's just like kind of following that. That's what this movie is, but to horror, making a horror movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doing a deep dive with my own brother. We were doing a review of the Blair Witch Project a few months back, and I forget how much people thought that movie, number one, was real. Number two, was so scary, yet you never really see anything. So you're essentially scaring yourself the whole movie. And then, like, lastly, the fact that we didn't have internet in those days, you could just perpetuate the rumor of this movie being amazing, being awesome, maybe real, maybe not, for months on end. You could do anything with it. That's one of those movies where the fact that it's so it's kind of filmed in that guerrilla filmmaking style, it only adds to the scariness. It doesn't need a lot of production. You're just scared in the woods with these kids the whole time.
I remember thinking that Blair Witch Project was real. And then I finally watched it, like, early on living in LA. I think I watched it because I think I had a character that I had to play that was like maybe similar to one of the characters in the movie, or that's how she was described, or something I was auditioning for. Anyway, so I watched it as research, and it wasn't very good. Like, it wasn't bad. I wasn't like, this movie sucks, but I was a little underwhelmed, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I watched it maybe a bunch of times for when I was researching it, and you definitely get aggravated, like, because they fight with each other the whole time, and you're kind of like, come on, guys. You're you kind of are rooting for them to kind of cooperate. So yeah, it can be a little frustrating the second or third time. It's like an action movie too. You kind of root for the plot to kind of turn out differently because you've seen the movie so many times. You're like, no, don't do that. That's not going to work. Because you know the answer to it. So it's kind of interesting like that. Your brain, once the scare is out of your body because you've seen it already, your brain has to go to other places.
Yeah, I think that was probably why I didn't find myself loving it. Because I remember, like, the acting was well done, and like it wasn't like there was any like creative aspect of it that was bad. I wasn't like, oh, I could have done this better. I'm not saying that at all. But I like to be scared, and I wasn't scared. And then I don't really like when people are like arguing constantly. I hate reality TV. Mm-hmm. So I'm probably annoyed by that now that you bring it up.
Yeah. A lot of arguing in the woods, as it turns out.
Pretty typical of horror movies. Most of my Nebraska horror movies was arguing in the woods, or just walking around in the woods, or getting killed in the woods. Everything in the woods.
Everything in the woods. Hey, there's your new title. Everything in the woods. Yeah. We got Homeless Romantic and Everything in the Woods. Take me way back. You said you were from Nebraska, or you were originally from there, or you're not originally from there, but you grew up there.
Yeah, I'm from Omaha, and I went to school in Lincoln, and then I graduated and I moved here.
What kind of kid were you growing up in Nebraska?
I made my own clothes and told my mom to screen my calls so that I could keep painting at my easel. And I played soccer only because my dad was the coach. I was involved in a lot of activities, but I loved doing plays. And we had that farm where my dad would hunt pheasants. So we would go there, and there was a cemetery in the middle of the land, which was like a very old cemetery from like the early 1800s, late 1700s, which I was obsessed with. And I would ride the tractor down to the cemetery, which is the most Nebraska thing I've ever said out loud.
You live in a horror movie, Christina.
Yeah,
farm, cemetery, tractors.
I once made a video at the cemetery along to metal music when I was like 13. So I don't know. I didn't really fit in Nebraska. I always wanted to move here. We would visit LA. Well, we would visit San Diego and then Torrance, which is because we had friends there. It's not really like a hot spot. But, I always was like, when we come out here, I mean, it's just in Nebraska, you don't have like artistic storefronts. You know what I mean? And I know that isn't a big deal, but like, when you just drive and all you see is dentist's offices, like it's different than when you like, I mean, here the dentist office decorates for Halloween, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I had a similar thought growing up. I didn't grow up in Los Angeles either. So all my understanding of Southern California as a kid is that's as if a town was on vacation all the time, because you go to Southern California with your family on vacation, you go to the beach, you go to Universal Studios, and then you go home and you're like, when can we go back on vacation? When can we go back? That town is on vacation. That must be the best town ever to live in. So I sort of had this fantasy perspective of the West Coast well into my 20s, where you're like, oh, you just go there and everybody has fun every day. The sun is out and you just kind of hang out. It's not uncommon that other people think that. It's just a very idealized city, I think.
Where are you from, Patrick?
I'm from El Paso, Texas. So
okay.
El Paso, Texas is a middle-sized sort of city. It's a border town. I always joke it borders Mexico and Mexico. So, but it's a very kind of family-oriented, very desert-like. But every time I go back, it's grown a bunch. There's new people there. It's really big. For a while too, my parents would always brag when we got some new franchise. Be like, oh, city's growing. We got PF Chang's now.
Yes,
like,
my parents do that too.
Yep. And we're always behind. El Paso is about 3 to 5 years behind, say, Dallas, Austin. So I remember when Starbucks came to El Paso in, say, the late 90s, there was a line around the block to go to Starbucks. It was like, we got Starbucks, everybody. Get your cups. We don't know how they give the coffee, but we got to go. Starbucks was huge. Krispy Kreme donuts was another one that we got way late and it was in the paper, and everybody had to go to these franchises so we could act like a big city. This is how it works there.
Yeah, my dad, he's always like, Omaha's growing. Omaha's getting big. And it's like, well, yes, it's growing, but like, it is not LA, And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it really took 3 to 5, maybe it did take 3 to 5 years for the businesses to get there, but I know even in Nebraska, it takes like 6 months for the fashion trends to get there. So I always wanted to be ahead of the curve. And like, I don't like to dress like anyone else anyway, but I thought it would be cool if I could like bring, like when we would go visit the friends in LA and then I would come back to Nebraska, like, mind you, I'm 9, I'm not Britney Spears, like no one's going to follow my fashion trends. They're just going to make fun of me. And so I would come back and I would like start wearing, I don't know, whatever let's say the new trend is to wear like off the shoulder sweaters. Cause that's what they were wearing in LA. I'd be like, I'm going to start the trend. And then I would wear off the shoulder sweaters and everyone would be like, why are you wearing your sweater off the shoulder like that? And I would be like, you're going to see. And then like, they would just make fun of me. And then 6 months later, all the girls would be wearing off the shoulder sweaters.
Right.
But no one would give me any credit. They would forget that I did that. They would just be like, you're a dork.
That was your intellectual property that you brought to Nebraska. Yeah, that's true. You could go to this kind of beacon of culture, fashion, entertainment industry. You could glob everything you could, take it back to your hometown. Ideally, you do it on the first day of school.
Right.
And that way everybody knows, okay, this is A+ material right here. This is the varsity. This is the trend that's being set. That's a smart move.
If I had been popular, then I could have done that. But you know what? I became a metalhead and I became popular in my own way. I was never meant to be like the popular girl. So I just said, fuck you, put on the black eyeliner. And then everybody actually did try to dress like me, which was great.
You set the trend in another direction. Everybody was pushing.
Trend.
You pulled. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just was like, I have to find my niche, Yeah.
Well, that's my most curious thing about you is why do you like metal music? Where do you think that came from? It doesn't seem like a common thing. Number one, girls are into. Um, it also is not the most popular music. You know, it's not pop music, so you have to search out metal. And yet, you're a huge metal fan. Where do you think that came from? Do
I
you have older
literally
brothers?
No, I'm an only child and my parents don't
Huh.
like metal. I literally have no idea how people cannot like metal. I don't have any idea. I'm having such trouble right now on dating apps. Like I'll look at somebody's profile and I'm like very particular about what I want. And I'll find somebody that checks all the other boxes, which is hard to find. And then I'll look at their music likes and I'll see no metal and I'll just be like, swiping left. I'm sorry, but like if you don't at least like Black Sabbath, just no, I don't. So, I mean, how did it start? How did the metal start? I mean, okay, it started when I was depressed and I was like 12 because I got this bladder disorder that is rare and the
Bladder Disorder. I remember that band. Yeah, that's a good band.
Yeah, it's a great band. So we're just thinking of names for movies and bands here, you guys. It's great.
Bladder Disorder.
Do you care if my cat joins us?
No, bring the cat in.
He wants to. Okay, so this is Wonder Woman. So anyway, I have a rare bladder disorder and I got it when I was 12, which is like the worst time to get a rare bladder disorder because 12 is just not a good year for anyone. And so I got really depressed because they didn't have a cure for it and my doctor was not very nice and he was an asshole actually. And so I just kind of like didn't want to listen to pop music because why would a depressed person ever want to listen to pop music? You know, and before that I had really liked like my parents' music, like the Beatles and the Beach Boys and stuff. And I didn't turn against that, but I wanted to listen. So the other things that were available to me at the time were like a lot of Rob Thomas and like Three Doors Down and like that kind of stuff. Like that's what I was available, which was dark-ish. I mean, it's not looking back, but like that's all I knew. And so I kind of was into that. And then Matchbox 20 was another one. And then a friend turned me on to Evanescence. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if you have ever seen Amy Lee, black hair, the Bring Me to Life song. And I just wanted to be Amy Lee. I mean, I would make Amy Lee Evanescence music videos in my closet. And then I went on some website before Facebook, before MySpace, and I met this guy named Bobby who had dreadlocks. Apparently, we didn't have pictures on there yet. And I met him at his church youth group. I know this is all weirder than it sounds, but it's real. That's
the classic story.
Yeah, he was a drummer of a band called Wicked System, not spelled right. And I joined the band as their singer. And they introduced me to Slipknot and Marilyn Manson and Korn and everything else. And then it was on. Like from there, I met my boyfriend who loved Cradle of Filth. And then I was into Cradle of Filth. And then it was just like, and then I was discovering subgenres. And then as I started to become, like by this point, I had friends. Like the metal that I listened to because I was depressed made me so that I wasn't depressed anymore. Metal made me happy. And as I became happier, and I wasn't like happy, I was just like, yeah, happy, you know? And as I became happier and I had friends, some of the music was actually too depressing for me. So that's when I found my subgenres of metal, like folk metal and Viking metal. And then I joined a different band. First band never actually played any shows. We were 14. But second band, we actually played a lot of shows. And second band, I played keyboards in that band. And we were called Loch Ness. I have a web series that's based off of that I shot a few years ago. And Loch Ness, they introduced me to more music and we went to more shows and so it's just kind of stemmed from there. And as I've gotten older, like I don't really listen to so much of the doom metal anymore, but like I can get down with that when I'm working out, and I start listening to a lot more like low key metal, like Metallica or Led Zeppelin or things that when I was younger, I would say wasn't metal, but I've watched a lot of metal documentaries. And if you look at the history of metal, like Black Sabbath basically started metal, and there's like blues influences and there's a lot of things that put it. So there's things that influence metal. And if they're really on the road to any type of genre of metal that you listen to now, you have to consider it metal. So it's just such a big part of my life now. It helped me through like really hard times. I like Lady Gaga. There's, if I'm at a party, I like Daft Punk. Like I can get down with some of that stuff, but like for the most part, I don't like rap. I hate country. Most pop I don't like. And I don't really like folk, like just folky music is good, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just the way my brain is wired. I think some
Yeah.
people like, I also like pain. I like how pain feels. I would rather be in physical pain than cold. So
Yeah.
I think it's just my brain. Like,
Yeah.
sorry for such a long answer, but it's my brain. It's my
No,
wire.
it's all right. I think your brain craves metal and potentially psychotherapy. So
Thank you.
I think you are very self-aware of that. And that's a good step. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I'm always interested where young people find that first path. Whether it's music, and then you find your friends within that music, and then you have a community, you have friends to share interests with, and then it kind of grows from there. A lot of like males, it's sports. You find a sport you like, and then you make friends for that. And like in my case, I was kind of nerdy sports. I played sports, but I was never any good. But I could really get into the details, learning statistics and learning where the players went to college and learning their jersey numbers and stuff like that. And I could nerd out on that. I could never study anything scholastically, but for some reason I could memorize sports events and sports statistics. And I think a lot of people too, music, and probably in there is movies as well. People will find some sort of avenue of entertainment. And that's like our first path. That's our first sort of drive of finding friends, finding our own identity. And then it's funny how it never leaves us. It sticks with us well into adulthood. So it's kind of interesting that you went the metal route. Best metal show you've ever been to? What would you
Mm.
say?
I would probably say, so one of my favorite bands ever is Ailstorm, and I started to get into them when I was in my band and got introduced to them, and I ended up seeing them in concert when I was like in 2016, and then I got in touch with the keyboardist because he had a Star Wars hat, and as you know, I love Star Wars, and we started talking. We became friends, and then I went to a couple more of their shows, and one show I went to, they gave me a backstage pass, which was awesome, and then I got to see this other band, Glory Hammer, which was also great, and made a bunch of friends there because like I couldn't hang like and it was just, I don't know. I mean, I've gone to so many more shows. I mean, and not like so many shows because like I have no money ever. So many shows is like still only like 2 shows a year, 3 shows a year. But like, I mean, that was great. And I like seeing Corpaclani. That was great. My first real concert was Rob Zombie. And I mean, I was 16, but that was great. That was great. I mean, any show, like even I've gone with Chelsea that used to work at Flappers. I don't know if you know, we went to a show. I don't even remember the band, but I mean, it was just great. It was kind of like a genre. It was like a form of metal, not my exact type of music, but just being at a concert, I miss them so much. I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go back.
Right. I think a lot of people are in that same boat, just ready
Yeah.
to pull the tape off
Yeah.
and go back to all the enjoyment that we used to do before. So it's been a long time coming. The Star Wars thing, though, you have a
Yes.
heavy interest in Star Wars as well. And then Star Wars is sort of the franchise that keeps on giving, because I like Star Wars as well, but I didn't grow up in the era of the original three. So I get into it late of the original three. And now there is a whole generation of Star Wars fans that get into it way past 6+ movies. And they're sort of just discovering Star Wars now. So that's sort of interesting. What's your earliest recollection of Star Wars? What was the first one you saw in the franchise?
Well, my earliest recollection is not the first one I saw because when I was skiing with my parents once, we went to a cabin for some reason, and like I think it was like the like maintenance lodge, or I have no idea. The office. It was the office, and
Mm-hmm.
uh they had Star Wars playing on a TV, and it was the scene where Darth Vader is interrogating Princess Leia with like the weird head thingy. I know I described that great. And I was like, what's that? And my dad was like, that's Star Wars. And my mom was like, you wouldn't like it. I'm still mad at her for saying that, because due to her saying that, I saw Phantom Menace first.
Oh, interesting.
My mom thought I wouldn't like Star Wars, so they just never showed it to me. And so when I was 9, I saw the Phantom Menace in theaters, and I really liked it. And then I saw it with my dad, and so immediately we left the movie theater, and I was like, that was great. And my dad was like, that movie was awful. We should watch the originals right now.
Right.
So then we went home and we watched the originals, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. That movie was awful. These are great.
How it took us all a little bit to realize the Phantom Menace was bad, because we had such anticipation for a new Star Wars movie, and we all went to go see it, and we almost didn't want to talk poorly about it.
Right, of course.
Because it was just such canon. I remember I went to go see it, me, my brother, and a friend, and we went to the midnight showing. We watched it. We got in the car afterwards, and we're sort of discussing it. We're like, that part was cool. I like this. And then my friend goes, that movie sucked. We're like, oh, okay, all right. Yes, okay, it did suck. Someone thought it sucked. But it's just such held in such high regard. My earliest Star Wars memory is my parents had recorded The Empire Strikes Back on VHS, like off of HBO or something. And that's all I had as a little kid. So I would just rewatch that movie over and over again. So the one before it, A New Hope, was mysterious to me. The one after it, Return of the Jedi, I was like, I haven't seen it. I don't know what that went on for like 5 years. So I could finally piece together the puzzle from my VHS Empire Strikes Back movie. That's the earliest I remember. We would just rewatch it on VHS on a recorded, and we had part of whatever movie HBO was showing before Empire Strikes Back. So we had like a minute and a half of some 80s movie, and then Empire Strikes Back started. Oh, that's my earliest Star Wars recollection. And then the toys, of course, had to have all the toys.
Right. I love that about VHS. Like, I remember like all the Saturday morning cartoons that my mom would tape and like in what order they were in, because I would watch them on the VHS. And I remember like a macaroni commercial. Like, I remember what commercial came before which cartoon. It's crazy.
Yes.
But no, that's so, you just like, to you, Han Solo was just always frozen in carbonite then, I guess, until you learned the different truth.
Right. I didn't know. I was like, when does this Han Solo guy talk? What's his deal? What's going on with him? Yeah. Shit. VHS, you're right, is so funny. And you would rewatch it. Remember, you would record TV shows also on VHS, and then you would memorize the commercials because you had the commercials in the VHS. Yeah. Also, it's like that with CDs. Remember, you would memorize the order of all the songs in the CD. You're like, I know this song comes after Welcome to the Jungle. I know this song comes after Buddy Holly on the Weezer album. And then sometimes there would be a secret song at the end of the albums too. Something kids will never know when you discover a song you like that you never heard of, but you bought the album and it was on the album. That's
well, and also just like not knowing how to buy seats, like not knowing like discovering music, like was so hard too. Like I would have to go in Omaha, it was called Homer's Gifts, and then you put the headphones on and you listen to the CD in like that little corner, which like now with COVID, it's like I'm not sharing headphones with someone. That's disgusting. But we would do that. I don't know if you guys did that, but like that's how I found new metal music, by the way.
Yes, yeah, that's right. You could go to little listening stations, and then sometimes you just had to take a fucking chance. Yeah. You were like,
if you like the art on the cover,
you're like, this title looks like the song I'm looking for. Well, I'll give it a shot. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We'll find out in 45 minutes when I play the CD front to back.
Yep.
What is your favorite Star Wars character?
You know,
what's the one you gravitate to the most, or the one you relate to the most, or just the one you find the most interesting?
You know, I was always saying Princess Leia, just because she's such a badass. But, you know, there was a time when I would say Darth Vader because, you know, he's just so iconic, but Anakin's such a douchebag. And I rewatched the prequels, by the way. I have a stereo podcast that I do on this app with a friend, and we watch them together. And we just like, Anakin is like a sociopath. He truly is. So I can't choose Darth Vader anymore. But now, this is the first time I'm giving this answer, by the way.
Okay.
Exclusive. So breaking news, everyone. Breaking news. My new favorite Star Wars character as of today's episode with Patrick Ramirez is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, why? Because Obi-Wan is the best part of the prequels. And Obi-Wan is a really great character in the original trilogy as well. And both of those are great actors. And they actually pair well with each other. Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor, their accents are very similar. I mean, obviously they're both British, but like their vocal intonations are similar. Their gait is like, they did a good job with those characters. Obi-Wan is not a douchebag. Obi-Wan has like, he knows what he wants. You know what I mean? And he's smart and he's a Jedi. And I can't wait for the Obi-Wan TV show. A lot of these shows, like I don't really care about the Clone Wars, the new Bad Batch. I don't really care. And I know that's a point of contention. I've tried to watch the Clone Wars. I don't care. I like Rebels. Okay. I really do like the Mandalorian, but Obi-Wan, oh my God, you guys,
you're pumped up for the Obi-Wan. So also, Alec Guinness looks like McGregor as a young person. Like you would say, like, yeah, that is a young Alec Guinness. They look that alike to him. So it's interesting. You went prequels. You went a prequels character.
Well, I consider Obi-Wan to be more of an original trilogy character.
You know what? Why didn't those prequels work? There's a lot of really good performers in those movies, yet none of them really worked at all.
Okay, well, I can tell you this because my friend Kier and I did a lot of dissecting. First reason Phantom is so bad is just, it's obvious. Jar Jar Binks sucks. We watched the movie again, Kier and I, we were like hoping that maybe we were just too judgmental when we were younger. And I was really judgmental of young Anakin. And we were like, maybe we're, kids. And nope, it sucks because Jar Jar is awful. And I was like, well, maybe if he didn't have that voice and if he had the same costume, but just like a different voice, would that help? Different words that he said? Maybe it would. And then we watched Attack of the Clones, thinking that maybe that would be better, and it wasn't. And I think the through line between Attack of the Clones, so I think that Phantom would have been a better movie maybe if we took out everything Jar Jar Binks and maybe had Anakin played by a boy that was slightly older. Don't jump. Wonder? No. Anyway.
Cat troubles.
She's trying to get on the counter. Anyway, but with Attack of the Clones, at least, and maybe also Revenge of the Sith, I think the biggest problems were that they had all of these action scenes would go super long. Like the beginning scene of the movie is like Anakin and Obi-Wan flying a spaceship, and it's just like they're just in space. And it's zooming around for a long time that's not needed. And then all of the actual conversational scenes, any relationship, are like less than 15 seconds between anyone. And it's like they didn't give anything enough time. They gave the things that didn't need all that time more time. And they took time away from the meat of the story, which is the characters. And you can't care about characters if you don't get to know your characters. It was just like shot together, and I think their priorities were off in the way that they did their storytelling. And I'm sure there was a reason for it. I'm sure they had great reasons for it, but I think that's why it didn't work for me.
Early CGI also did not help this movie. You could tell very easily who's not actually standing next to whoever, and your brain just knows this isn't real to it. There's a couple of good fight scenes in it, but you're right. It never gets off the ground. It's almost borderline boring. There's a lot of nothing that happens. There's a lot of like dialogue and you're like, what's happening here? And
there's a scene where Padme is in like an S&M looking outfit and she's like, Anakin, why would you think that I want a romantic relationship with you? And meanwhile, her boobs are like popping. It's just like, it's like laughable. It's like these horror movies that I was in that consider themselves regular horror movies and they're clearly horror comedies. That's how I feel.
And then with all the new Star Wars franchises that are popping up, like we have Mandalorian, there's something new coming out. What about this? Which would you rather see? A dark rated R Star Wars or a Star Wars comedy?
I was ready to say the dark rated R Star Wars. But like Patrick, I somehow feel very emotional about this because
I knew you would. That's why it's a tough question.
I realize how upset I am. And the reason I'm upset is I would rather have either one of those than the things we've been given. Sorry, I
what do you mean? Explain yourself.
Not the thing. So I think that Star Wars they're just trying to people please. They're making kids movies and they're making like the prequels were like a romance. You know what I mean? It was like a romance action movie and like a kids movie, and maybe like a family friendly movie. I don't want a family friendly movie. Mm-hmm. I would love I think who was originally supposed to do, oh my God, it was like the brothers that were going to do, was it the Han Solo movie or
I forgot about that Han Solo movie in the middle there. That was
and then they got ousted and somebody else. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh no, I don't know the story. So someone else was supposed to write or direct the Han Solo one.
Yeah, one of the movies that came out in recent years, there were two directors, and for the life of me, I can't think of anything today, but they were supposed to direct the movie, and they did direct a lot of it, and then they got kicked off of it because they were trying to make it too funny, and the tone of it was not what the Star Wars franchise wanted, because and when I say this, like, there's no recent Star Wars movie or TV show that I disliked, just to get this out there. Like, I enjoyed them all, but when you prompt me with this rated R versus comedy, it suddenly hit me that the reason that I'm not happy with them is because they're not the genre that I want them to be. And I feel like the original trilogy was more of a comedy. I mean, I don't know.
It's a tough question. I didn't mean to send you into an existential crisis.
Well, most things send me into an existential crisis, Patrick. Is it bad that I just keep thinking of like how they'll mess either one up? Because I feel like if they go with the dark rated R version.
Yeah. What about like a Dark Knight version, like they did with Batman, but in a Star Wars? That would be really cool. Comedy is very hard, so I almost don't want them to touch it because it's really hard to make a good comedy. But it seems like there's so much you can do with Star Wars, so eventually we'll try them all.
Well, I feel like they're already trying to do the comedy. So let's go with dark rated R, because we've done dark brooding with Anakin Skywalker, but we haven't actually done rated R, Yeah. And there are some things in I really like the tone of Mandalorian. That is hitting the closest mark for me. And obviously that's not super dark. I mean, it's hard because it's Disney. Now it's Disney, and now they're Disney.
They're gonna have to, they're gonna have to sublet it out or something. They're gonna just have to let it run free just for one. I'm not even opposed to them. Just let's just remake the prequels. Just remake them. Just see if we can make them better. Just remake all three of them and give it a shot.
If you did that,
it couldn't get worse.
Who would you cast in the prequels?
Let's think about this. Okay, I'm gonna throw a couple out. And for Obi-Wan, what about if we cast, why am I forgetting his name now? The guy from Lord of the Rings. What's that guy's name?
Orlando Bloom?
No, but now I like this one. Now I like him better.
He's the same age as Ewan McGregor. So if we're doing this now, we would need somebody.
It's not bad.
Are you thinking? Go ahead.
Who was the lead in Lord of the Rings? Why am I forgetting his
Elijah
name?
Wood.
Elijah Wood. I was thinking him initially, but do change my mind. Now I like Orlando Bloom. And then say for what is Obi-Wan's mentor in those movies name?
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon. Okay. For Qui-Gon, okay, I'm going to go a little bit off the page. What if we go Christoph Waltz for Qui-Gon?
Ooh.
He has an accent, but he's kind of mysterious. So I think that could be interesting, the playing off of each other. Now the kid, Anakin, that's tricky because the kid
anyone would be better than Jake Lloyd.
Good point. Anybody would be better. But what if we flip it? What if we make the kid a girl this time instead of boy Anakin? What if we flip it and we have a girl Anakin? What about that? That could be interesting. Who would be a good little kid?
I mean, I'm all for, but like, how would this? So are we gonna redo everything then? Because if Anakin is now a girl, then
right? Do we have to flip Obi-Wan and stuff?
Padme.
Oh, right.
I mean, they could both be girls, but then we would have to. I mean, yeah, they could still. I mean, couldn't accidentally get her. She couldn't accidentally get her pregnant, though. That would be the only problem, because I am all for women on relationships, but there is like a hiding of the pregnancy. You know what I mean? And I feel like in same-sex couples, there's
everybody was wearing big robes in those days, so we could hide it for maybe into 2 trimesters. Right. It's a thought. I'll bat this around. What about this before I get to the game? Okay. What is your give me your top 3 power rankings Star Wars movies, and keep your answer under 22 minutes and I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you. Top 3 Star Wars offerings. What do you got?
Okay. Empire Strikes Back, number 1.
Me too.
Then I'm going to go with, I'm going to have to choose a trilogy. Empire, Return of the Jedi, New Hope.
Oh, okay. So I go Empire, Rogue One, and then A New Hope. I really liked Rogue One. I didn't think I was going to like it. I really, really, really liked that one. That was good. And then lastly, New Hope. How could you go wrong? New Hope just sets you up and you're like, I'm locked in. Give me season tickets. I want to watch them all right now. Well, I have for you a very special Rotten Tomatoes head-to-head game, special Christina Marie Leonard themed Rotten Tomatoes game. Now, there's a couple ways you can score points in this game. I'm going to read you the description of the movie, and when you know it, you yell it out, and you can get a point that way. And then, if you guess the head-to-head battle, which one has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score, you can win points for that as well.
Great.
So, the theme of this particular game is Star Wars actors not in Star Wars movies. I'm going to give you a practice one to get you started. Okay. I'm going to give you a description of the actress. This actress not only helped save the galaxy, befriended a whole race of Ewoks, but also inspired a hairstyle that is truly one in a million. So these are movies that Carrie Fisher is in that is not Star Wars.
Right.
Okay, here's your practice one. If you know this movie, yell it out. Here's the description. College graduates share a contentious car ride from Chicago to New York. 10 years later, they meet again at a bookstore. With the help of their respective friends, they attempt to stay friends without sex becoming an issue.
When Harry Met Sally.
You got it, from 1989. Carrie Fisher is Meg Ryan's friend in that movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, second movie. When settling in for some vacation time in his home in the suburbs, an odd family moves in down the block. While investigating the new neighbors, another neighbor disappears. And now this regular homeowner must risk his life to save the cul-de-sac.
The Burbs.
From 1989, The Burbs. Carrie Fisher's in two movies in 1989.
It's both so good, but my guess is I think that When Harry Met Sally got higher Rotten Tomatoes ranking.
When Harry Met Sally versus The Burbs, you're going Harry Met Sally. Harry Met Sally. Lock it in. Okay. Harry Met Sally is fresh 91%. The Burbs 53%.
Oh, poor Burbs. That was a great movie.
You would have cleaned up on that practice one. You got every single one of the available points there. Okay, but now's the real deal. And I made these extra hard because everybody was scoring too high on this. I think Justin Foster is the leader in the clubhouse. in
Yes.
this game. What was his genre? I'm trying to think. Oh, I think we did Texas for him. Okay. Movie number 1. Here's the description of the actor. This actor took up the fight for the rebellion unwillingly, set things in motion for a new hope, all while speaking in a very unusual accent that none of us could figure out. The actor is Diego Luna. Okay, movie number 1. Yell it out when you know the title. An Eastern European tourist lands in New York. When war breaks out in his country, he finds himself caught up in international politics. The Department of Homeland Security won't let him leave the airport. While living in the airport, he falls for a flight attendant. But what good is love if he can't leave?
Lost in Translation?
No, 2004. This is The Terminal.
Oh my God. Shit, I've never seen it. I've never seen either one of those actually, but I think
this was an odd Tom Hanks time in his movie
yes.
Timeline. I don't think anybody understood this movie. I don't think they knew what was going on.
I didn't know Diego Luna was in that.
I didn't know either. I had to do deep research. He's in the Terminal. All right, you can still score points. Here's the next movie description. In the year 2154, humanity is sharply divided into 2 classes of people. The ultra-rich live in a luxurious space station, while the poor live a hard-scrabble existence on Earth. One man agrees to undertake a dangerous mission to bring equality to the population, but the powers that be vow to preserve their pampered lifestyle. Do you know this movie?
I don't know what it is, but I want to see it. What is it?
From 2013, the movie is Elysium.
Oh my God, I've never even heard of that. I'm writing it down. I had no money in 2013. I had lived in LA for like 6 months, so I don't think I went to a movie for 2.5 years.
I saw Elysium, and it's really good. This was the era of us being shown that Matt Damon was like an action guy. And we were like, what's going on? He isn't. Oh, he looks pretty buff. I don't know. And then that sort of set up the Bourne Identity series, I think, because Matt Damon's like this, like a hero guy that shoots people in helicopters and stuff. I still like Elysium. And Diego Luna's like his like a gangster friend.
Oh my God. Okay. That's
okay. This is going to be tough. You don't know either of these movies. You have The Terminal versus Elysium. What do you think has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score?
Well, I'm going to go with The Terminal because I had never even heard of Elysium until now.
Okay. The Terminal, 61% on Rotten Tomatoes. Elysium, 65%.
Oh!
Christina, you need to get on the board here.
Oh, dang. Justin's winning this round. He's not even playing.
We still have two movie rounds to go. You can still get points. Okay, your actor description. This actor was masked for the entire movie. Not only does he save the day, lives in the ultimate treehouse, and takes cuteness factor to galactic heights. Your actor is Warwick Davis. He was a little Ewok guy. Mm-hmm. Warwick Davis in non-Star Wars movies. Here's your first description. A journey in a land to the corners of your imagination, a land of myth and magic. A would-be sorcerer finds a child and must travel far distances with the help of a swashbuckling swordsman to return the child to restore good in the face of evil. Do you know this movie?
I know what it is, and I can't think of the name of it. I haven't seen it. It was like a late 80s movie. I'm not going to think of it. So
1988. The movie is Willow.
Oh, yes.
Never seen Willow?
No.
You would like Willow.
Okay.
That's a really good movie. It's on one of the streaming services
it is.
too.
I'll watch it.
Okay. Your movie number 2. Yell out when you know. While trying to prevent his house from being bulldozed, a man is whisked to outer space where he meets a myriad of friends. He meets a many-headed president and a sexy refugee. His journey takes him across the stars while seeking the meaning of life or something close to it.
Is this the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
From 2005, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You are on the board, Christina.
Finally. I
Of
hate
all the
that.
movies, I thought this movie would be the hardest to guess, but you got it. So you got Willow versus The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What do you think? Take
I'm
me
gonna
through
go
your
with
thought process.
Willow because I feel like that's a classic. I'm ashamed to say that I haven't seen it, and I don't remember Hitchhiker's Guide doing that well. But maybe I'm wrong.
Willow is 51%. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is 60%.
Oh my God, I'm failing, Patrick.
I'm very upset with the critics of Rotten Tomatoes. Willow should be higher.
I thought, yeah, I'll watch it and I'll report back.
Yes, please. Willow is a great movie. I love Willow.
Willow and Elysium, both on my list.
Right. Yeah, you have two movies too.
Uh-huh.
That okay. You have one more round to score points here. Don't fear. Focus up here. Here you go. Your actor description. This actor single-handedly constructs the archetype for which all young males aspire to, saving the day, kissing the girl, and wearing vests. Your actor is, of course, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford in non-Star Wars movies. All right, your first movie, yell it out when you know. A police officer must protect a young boy and his mother. To protect them, he must take them to the Amish country. There, he is immersed in Amish culture and tradition, not to mention starting a cautious romance with the mother.
Oh my God, I actually don't know this one. He's been in so many. I can't wait. Now I have a new movie to watch. What is it?
From 1985, the movie is Witness.
Witness. Oh my God.
You never saw
wait.
Witness? Harrison Ford, Kelly McGillis.
No. So I don't even care that I'm not winning. I'm just excited to watch these new movies that are.
I'll tell you my one Witness joke. Every time me, my brother, my cousins would watch Star Wars, we'd be watching it, and my uncle would walk in and he would go, "Who is that actor?" And he would point at Han Solo and we go, "That's Harrison Ford." And he'd go, "From Witness?" That was his joke for a good 12 and a half years. I'll be like, "What's Witness?"
That's great.
Okay, movie number 2. A savvy New York receptionist gives her boss a business tip only to have the credit stolen from her by a coworker. In order to exact revenge, she initiates a major deal with an investment broker, but things turn ugly when the real boss finds out and trouble ensues.
Whoa, I don't know. What is it?
From 1988, Working Girl is the movie.
Whoa, I've heard of that movie, had no idea he was in it.
Melanie Griffith, Sigourney Weaver,
What?
Harrison Ford.
Oh my God, I'm watching that first.
I forget who the boss is. This was one of those movies that I never saw, but I knew the movie cover from walking in Blockbuster over the aisles. I'm like, what's Working Girl?
Wait, is that the one where he's like being pulled by his tie?
Yeah, he's like in a tuxedo or a suit. He's like this. And the two ladies. Yeah. That was a movie. I knew the cover, but I never saw the movie. I was like, why is Han Solo in a suit? So, all right. One last shot, Christina. Okay. Witness versus Working Girl.
I'm going to say that Working Girl had higher reviews.
Okay. Witness is 93%. Working Girl is 84%.
No one likes the women. That's my thought. I'll watch them both. I'll decide.
Yeah, you make the call. Yeah. Remember, this is Rotten Tomatoes. They don't speak for everybody.
They don't.
You scored a mighty 1 point in this Rotten Tomatoes head-to-head game. So which one did you get right? Oh, you guessed the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
The worst movie.
How is this possible? Well, I told you I made this game tough.
It was so fun, though. I loved it. It was great. It was a great game.
Well, Christina, you have 2 movies that people can go watch. Where do people go see them?
Well, actually, The X is in the festival circuit right now. And Waiting for the Punchline is not done. But you guys can find all my other films on my YouTube channel. Just search for Christina Marie Leonard. I've got Loch Ness, the web series on there. There's 5 episodes, and there's also my short film Food Junkie is on there. Yeah, so you can watch those on there. And when my other films are available, I'll put them on there as well. But if you're around, the X will be screening at the We Make Movies Film Festival in June. I don't remember the date, but it will be there.
Excellent. Everybody go see it. So thank you, Christina. For Christina Marie Leonard, the writer, producer, actor, creator, everythinger of The X, of Waiting for the Punchline, and future director of Homeless Romantic. Christina Marie, thanks for talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me on, Patrick. This was super fun.
Okay, that is the episode for this week. I want to thank Christina Marie Leonard for joining me, for catching up, for telling us all about her projects, all about Star Wars, and really giving a full effort at the Rotten Tomatoes game. These games are not easy, folks. You think they're easy, but they're not. They're tough, and they're only going to get harder. No more perfect scores. That's it! You heard it here. Nobody scores perfect on my turf anymore. Or will they? We don't know. Hey, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I like to see that. I like listeners. And there's great stuff on there. So go listen to it. And look for details of me doing stand-up comedy very soon. I can't wait. Thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you next time.